Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is our summer 2026 road trip adventure. Glad you could be along on this adventure. So we've been planning this one for a little while. This year's kind of special. We're celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary. And we plan to do something a little bit different this time around. Of course, we like to do something different just about every time around. We've been kind of eyeing this trip along Highway 50 in Nevada, which had been labeled the loneliest highway in America, but more on that later. This is just the first part of our trip. We went down to Jackson F. Kimball State Rec Site and camped there, and we'll talk about the campground more later. But this was our adventure up to Crater Lake. We have not been up to Crater Lake in some time, so it was fun to get back there and see it again. Because we've pretty much always lived north of the lake, most of the time we come there, we come into the north entrance. This time we came in the south entrance off of Highway 62. And this is the Annie Creek Valley that you can drive along as you're driving Highway 62. And there's a lot of different pull-offs and viewpoints that you can get out and take a look at the canyon. And at points you can see the creek itself as it flows through the bottom of the canyon. There's a couple of waterfalls that we were able to see as well. It's really neat vistas, and just it was really pretty up there. And the steepness of the canyon is just amazing. And seeing things like this tree where it looks like almost half of its roots are exposed to the weather, but it's still hanging on and still growing and still appears healthy. It was really neat to come up this way. It's something we don't normally do. And it takes you right into Rim Village. And in Rim Village, it has a visitor center, restrooms. It has accommodations for volunteers and employees that work up there. You've got the lodge. So there's a lot of buildings up here at Rim Village. And throughout most of the year, even through the winter, they try to keep the road plowed and accessible to Rim Village, even if none of the other roadways are clear. This year did not have as much snow. This was the first part of June, and we've been here in the end of June where there's 20-plus foot snowbanks along the roadway. And you can't even access some of the lake overlooks because of the amount of snow. So it's definitely a low snow year this year. But it's still fun to be there. It's still so dramatic as you come up to the rim of the lake and overlook it. The lake is so blue. Part of that is because it's 1,949 feet deep. It's the deepest lake in the U.S. And if I recall correctly, I think I saw a stat showing it being the deepest volcanic lake in the world. This was formed by Mount Mazama after its cataclysmic volcanic eruption. It left the crater, and the crater is since filled with water and mostly snow and rain. I am curious if they've ever looked for or found any type of underground spring feeding it from the bottom. But being that deep, and it's such a historic and neat lake that they don't allow a lot of activity on the lake itself, just to keep it as pure and nice as it is. And this is the Cenote Memorial Overlook. It is not open all the time. At this time of year, like I said, we've been here in winters past where snow is so high that you can look down and you can kind of see where the trail going into the overlook is, and you can see like the top of the overlook, but the rest is covered in snow and you're not allowed to go up into it. But it's a really nice, really pretty overlook of the lake. And you look at this and you look down over the edge and you see how steep it is. And just the courage of the construction workers to hang over the edge of the caldera like that to build an overlook. I mean, because this was built long before OSHA was around, and I don't know of anyone being seriously injured or killed in the construction of this overlook, but it's just amazing the work they did and the environment they did. And speaking of that, this is the Crater Lake Lodge. This was built over a several year period. They started construction in 1909 and didn't open it till 1915. And one of the big reasons is there's such a short construction window to work up on the rim, because you're high elevation. There's a lot of snow. I mean, we've been here end of June, beginning of July, where there's 20 plus foot of snow still on the ground. And they had to deal with things like that where you only have 3, maybe 4 months to work on it. And the lodge has a storied history. It was first opened in 1915. Between 1922 and 1924, they expanded on the original lodge. And it was actually in private hands till 1967, when the National Park acquired the lodge. It was eventually condemned and closed in 1989. And there's a neat little kiosk area right here that shows a lot of the history. And it's interesting reading some of the past things written about the lodge, like guests complaining about the fact that wind and snow are coming between the shingled sidings into their room. And one review saying it was one of the worst fire hazards they've ever seen, to it being condemned in 1989. There was an outcry from a lot of people wanting it kept, but it was not really designed from the get-go for the snow loads they had and everything else. But it was saved from demolition, and they went through and meticulously documented the stones used in the foundation. You saw the ponderosa tree bark as siding on the inside. That was all marked and saved, and they tore it down and they built it anew with all new foundation. There's steel reinforcement beams throughout it to help hold the snow load. And in 1985, it was reopened to the public. And we were able to stay in it in 1996, right after it opened. And it was a really neat stay. The rooms were really tastefully done. I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but that was 30 years ago. It'd be interesting to stay in the same room and just see what we think of it. And in 2012, it was designated as a member of the Historic Hotel of America organization. And then we continued on the Rim Drive and enjoyed the views. It was one of those years that you weren't able to do all of the Rim Drive. Some of that is because of construction, not because of snow. We stopped at pretty much every viewpoint between Rim Village and the North Entrance Road. The rest of Rim Road is closed at the time. A lot of it is for construction. From Rim Village east, you can't get to a lot of places because they're reconstructing and reinforcing some of the retaining walls on that part of the roadway. So things like Vadea Falls and the road accessing the pinnacles is closed and will be closed all summer. So if you're planning a visit in 2026, expect that part of the highway to be closed. Other sections that are under construction are Cleetwood Cove. It's the only access you have down to the lake itself through the stairs, and they're doing a bunch of reconstruction on that as well, and it's going to be closed through, and it sounds like it'll be opening in 2029 if they get all the construction done. But Crater Lake is a wonderful, wonderful place to come. So enjoyable, so beautiful. We've been coming to it for years, and if you can put it on your docket, I would say come here and enjoy. So there's this little sign right here on Sun Mountain Road off of Highway 62 that says Kimball, and that's where you want to turn to get down to the park. So one of the cool things about this campground is the Wood River headwaters. This is a spring-fed river that just comes out of the hillside. And right at the corner of the tent campsites is the trailhead that we're on now. I don't know if I'd really call it much of a trail because it's so short. This takes you back through the trees right to the headwaters. And as you can see, from nothing starts a river. Water is so clear. I haven't been back here yet. I only stopped up there. The river literally just bubbles up out of the ground. Good thing my shoes are waterproof, huh?
Mine are.
So that direction is where the headwaters are, where it just comes out. And then it's like a trickle, 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 and then it's a river.
Look how blue it gets.
It's very blue. And this is in the backside of the tent camping sites. You can walk down here and have river access. Just a little. So this is the campground here at Jackson F. Kimball State Park here in Oregon. There's the pay envelopes in here, along with a feedback slip if you wanted to do that. It's got a map of the campground here, though this campground map is a little outdated because there's at least 3 sites within the loop campsites, and then there are 7, I guess it does show all 7, of tent sites. So let's go walk around the loop. It's not a very big loop, so this won't take very long. We met Ranger Brandon yesterday. He was down here doing his rounds, cleaning up the pit toilet. That is the only bathroom facility here. I mean, it was clean, it's got toilet paper, it's can't complain. We are in site 1. We can show a little bit of that more later when I'm done with this massive loop. And then you've got your tent site, starting with number 4 over here. The numbers are all on the fire ring for each campground. And there's about 22-ish feet from the edge of the road to the poles, not letting you go any further. So it's about 22, 24 feet depending on where you are. So there's plenty of room. I mean, our mid-sized truck is just over 17 feet long, and our trailer is just a little over 17 feet long. So technically we could fit on this side. Yeah. Well, from this way it would be a lot better.
Yeah.
for the direction of the loop. And there is day use parking down here at the end. And the river is just past the tent sites. And this is site 2. We almost chose this site, so I figured I could put the trailer here and then park the truck over there, but we liked this looks of site 1 because site 3 over here was taken when we showed up. Now I don't know what the future holds for this park, but it appears to at least me that it wouldn't take too much to build a couple more sites over here for decent sized rigs. They've got plenty of room for it, just whether they will in the future or not. But I think I would have wanted site 3 had no one been here, but it is what it is. Let's finish the loop and then we can show you site 1. That's a big loop. Whew, I'm tired. I guess we can just cut through here, huh?
Unless you want to go all the way around.
Yeah, we'll just cut through here. Okay. So right up there is the pay booth that we started at. There's the back side of the bathroom. They've got several places blocked off here. And honestly, I think they should have where we backed in blocked off and let you back in where that log is, because that would be more in line with the one way they want this loop to be used in, and it would put you right in this campground. But we've got a fire pit, picnic bench. I mean, site 1 has a lot of room.
I think the other thing is, if that was open, it wouldn't feel so much like people were walking right through our campsite to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. But that's it. That's our site. I mean, honestly, we've got tons of room, and there's so much room here. You could put a bigger trailer in here. Though the one thing we did have to do is, because of the angle to enter this campground, and they have an arrow painted on the roadway that they want this to be a one-way loop, we had to pull up past the pay booth, and then we backed the trailer all the way down in here, kind of going the wrong way because of the angle of this campsite. But it worked out. It's got plenty of room, and it's a nice campground.
So we are continuing on the All Pacific Northwest shop hop. This is Idaho Sewing and Vac Superstore. We are getting down to the last few days of the shop hop, so I don't have a lot of time left. But I've collected most of the fabric that I need for my sunflower quilt, so pretty happy about that. This is a very good size quilting and fabric selection store, besides all of the machines and accessories, which you will see because Keith is going to be videoing in here for quite a while. It is quite a big shop. Superstore is definitely a good name for it. Now, as we came in here, as I mentioned, doing my sunflower quilt project, I was specifically looking for a brown or a green to use as my corner squares. Was kind of leaning towards a brown, but I did end up finding a green that Keith and I both really, really liked, so that's the one that I chose. You can see me there, busy looking for fabrics. Again, huge selection of fabrics. I didn't even get into the section where they have fabrics for other sewing besides quilting. And I didn't look at the machines. I was spending most of my time just picking out my fabric and navigating around a sweet little old lady who was having troubles with her walker. So again, great shop if you're in the Boise area. This was a great shop. I would love to have this one be accessible because I think you could get anything that you could ever want here. Okay, and continuing on, we come to the Quilt Crossing, also in Boise, Idaho. This is another really, really good size shop. It is basically divided into two separate shops, two separate areas. One is basically set up for all the quilting, and then the other side is for the machines and accessories. So it's like two connected shops. Really good selection of fabrics and, of course, patterns, all kinds of kits. Really helpful, friendly people in here. For this shop, I was specifically trying to find a black for the points of the Ohio Star. We actually did find two, one that Keith preferred and one that I liked, and so we got both. That will give us choices later when I'm actually working on the block to figure out which one's going to look best. In addition to all the regular quilting fabric and kits and patterns and threads and so on, they also have a good selection of wool and thread for doing, and buttons and little embellishments for doing embroidery. Always love to see that. Again, really nice shop. Would be a great one to shop at a regular basis. And lastly, for Boise, we come to the Jones Sewing and Vac. Now, this is definitely an emphasis on sewing and vac. It is mostly machines. There is a small selection of fabric, but it is very limited. I think if I was in the Boise area looking for fabric, I would go to one of the other 2 shops, but I think it's fantastic that if you're in that area, you have 3 shops that have a lot of machines to go compare and look at. Now, I was worried at first with the small selection of fabric that I was not going to be able to find what I wanted, that I would really have a hard time choosing something. But as it turned out, you can see the fabric I'm holding up. I found the perfect yellowy orange for my sunflower petals for my project. So that was actually a really nice surprise, and I was very happy about that.